What's up, everybody? James Bushell here, and I'm back at you with another video. Today's video will be interesting because it's my first ever non-A Song of Ice and Fire or Game of Thrones related video. Today's subject will be based on Star Wars. In particular, I'll be talking about my top 10 favorite characters from Star Wars. This list will be comprised primarily based off of the Star Wars cinematic universe. I know that there's been an extensive extended universe. I'm sort of versed in it, but not, extremely well versed in it. But this is going to be mainly just talking about the cinematic universe, the prequels, and the original trilogy. I am doing this video because on Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern, I will be on Tinker Jaso's channel along with Jerry the Targaryen Steamboat. We will be talking about the Star Wars trailer that just dropped, along with our fears and dreams that what we hope is we'll get from the J.J. Abrams production. So let's get into it. Starting at number 10, Lando Calrissian. Now, I like Lando. I know some people don't, but I thought he was well played by Billy D. Williams. He's a scoundrel, and he's a ladies' man, and an entrepreneur. He became the Baron of Cloud City on Bespin by winning it in a game of Sarlaac. So we get to see, he's very similar to Han. Yes, did he betray them? Yes, he did. But you know what? People can be redeemed. Lando was redeemed in my mind. We get some great action with him in Return of the Jedi. I love his scenes in the Millennium Falcon going up and destroying the Death Star with, I forget the little guy's name, but the Niad Nwab, the weird looking dude. Maybe I'll put a picture of him, but you'll know who I'm talking about. Destroys the Death Star in Return of the Jedi. Was a general for the rebellion. I like Lando. Remember, this is a subjective list, so it's who I like. Number 9, R2-D2. I mean, who doesn't love R2-D2? He actually, made the scenes with C-3PO bearable. I'm not a big C-3PO fan at all. But R2-D2, gotta love that little guy. Always came through in a pinch. Was able to bring some levity to the screen. I thought he was really good in comic relief, even though he obviously didn't say anything, but he really lightened the mood on screen. We also got him helping the crew plenty times. With the trash compactor in the first one in episode 4, and then once again on Jabba the Hutt's barge, shooting the lightsaber up to Luke. I mean, he always came through in a pinch. Who doesn't love R2-D2? I know I do. Number 8, Princess Leia. In episode 4, yeah, she was a damsel in distress, but she progressed throughout the series, I believe. We got in episode 4, we got, of course, her witnessing the destruction of her home planet Alderaan by the hands of the Empire. And then we see her progress. We learn that she's, we end up learning that she's Luke's twin. And the whole story, of how that happened in the prequels. But, yeah, Princess Leia, she was a strong woman. She could kick some ass on occasion. She was smoking hot. I mean, who could forget the, her outfit with Jabba the Hutt on the barge, I remember that as a kid. Haven't forgot it now. And an iconic hairstyle. Who could forget her iconic hair? Yeah, Princess Leia, number 8. Now, number 7. This will be a point of contention for some. Jerry the Targaryen Steamboat. But number 7 is Boba Fett. Now, people with this, they'll say, oh, why don't you have Boba Fett higher or whatnot? But look, I think Boba Fett was a badass. He was a badass Mandalorian. Had a badass ship. Slave 1 was a beast. He had a bunch of cool contraptions. The rocket pack. The flamethrower. Which I don't know if that was in the cinematic universe. But I love Extended Universe Boba Fett. I love bounty hunters in general. But the fact of the matter is, he only had 4 lines in the whole series. All of them in Empire Strikes Back. Those 4 lines were, "As you wish," "He's no good to me dead," "What if he doesn't survive? He's worth a lot to me," and "Put Captain Solo in the cargo hold." And, if you count that as a line. So 5 lines. That's when he's dying, or when he's getting, when he gets propelled into the Sarlaac pit in episode, in Return of the Jedi. So, yeah, I think he's a badass. Everyone thinks he's a badass. But like I said, his presence compared to the characters that I have ahead of him, I felt was not as impactful to the story as a whole. Feel free to disagree with me. You can put in the comments. I will read them and I will comment back. This is how I feel. Remember, this is a subjective list. Like I said, I also still think he's a badass. I think if he had a more prominent role, I think he could have been number 1. But to me, his role wasn't very prominent. Cool ass armor. It was cool, Darth Vader walking up to him and saying, "No disintegrations." Kind of tells you about his reputation. But like I said, I felt the people ahead of him on this list has more of a presence in the story. Number 6, Chewbacca. I mean, who doesn't love Chewbacca? You don't understand a damn word he's saying, but the giant Yorkie, that's what he looks like, a giant Yorkie. He's just a lovable character. And he's a badass in his own right. He can rip people's arms off. And he has a bowcaster. I mean, he's a badass. Han Solo's right-hand man. I mean, man a few words. Or a Wookiee a few words, I should say. But, hey, Chewie gets the job done. Who doesn't love Chewie? I mean, everyone loves Chewie. I don't know anyone who's like, "Oh, man, Chewbacca, I hate that guy." Everyone loves Chewbacca. Number 5, Yoda. Now, Yoda. I like Yoda. He's. I remember seeing him for the first time when I was a kid. I was like 7, 8 years old when I watched Empire Strikes Back for the first time, and I just couldn't. The scene that gets me. I still couldn't believe that little green guy was able to lift the X-wing out of the swamps of Dagobah, and I just remember him. He's definitely eclectic. Of course, everyone knows his iconic way of talking. Was he a little different? Yes. But he was a wise old master, and it was integral to Luke's training. I didn't really like the parts in the prequels where they had to have him flipping around and doing all these crazy lightsaber battles, because I just felt like he was like the ultimate. I don't know if you play Star Wars: The Old Republic or anything, but he was like a consular. I thought he was like kind of like the ultimate Force user. So I wish that he didn't have to do all that in the prequels. That they just would have concentrated more on his Force, using ability. But Yoda, wise old sage. It was sad when he died, but hey, I love Yoda. Number 4, the primary protagonist of the trilogy, Luke Skywalker. Why is not higher? Because there's 3 guys I like more than him. But Luke, he was Luke. We saw the story through his eyes. We saw him grow into becoming a Jedi Master. The internal struggles he had with his father and potentially falling into the dark side. We get that scene on Dagobah where, he goes into the cave and he fights the Darth version of himself. He cuts the head off and his face reveals it's himself. We see this inner struggle within him, and his journey was great. I will still always remember the fight scene between him and Darth Vader at the end of Empire Strikes Back on Cloud City. We get the big reveal that, Darth Vader is his father. And we get to see the agony in Luke Skywalker's face. And, he goes into, he don't give a F anymore, essentially. And he's gonna essentially commit suicide when he jumps off that thing. And Luckily, it didn't end up that way. But, you know, Luke is a great character. Was he a little whiny at times? Perhaps. Naive in the beginning? Sure. But we grew up with him, you know. In the end, we went through with his journey, and we cared about what happened to him. And, of course, you know, I still always loved the end scene between him and Darth Vader. Actually, I'll say Anakin Skywalker at that time. When the, you know, at the end of Return of the Jedi, and they're having that moment where, you know, Darth Vader's going to die. But just a touching moment. And Luke Skywalker, great character. And Mark Hamill, he was awesome. And I should have, you know, brought up the actors before, you know, Carrie Fisher, Billy D. Williams, all great. So let's go to number 3, Obi-Wan Kenobi. I love Obi-Wan Kenobi, especially Alec Guinness Obi-Wan Kenobi. I liked Ewan McGregor's Obi-Wan Kenobi. I actually thought he was a good Obi-Wan Kenobi. I thought he was the best part of the prequels. In all honesty, was Obi-Wan Kenobi. But you know, I like the wise old guys that are entered into a story and really are teachers. You know, I really like the teachers to our young protagonists. Obi-Wan Kenobi was obviously friends with Anakin Skywalker, and that ended up in, you know, that whole situation ended up in a tragedy, of course. But I mean, who could forget? I loved Alec Guinness in Star Wars Episode 4, and you know, I always remember was the lightsaber duel between Darth Vader and Obi-Wan Kenobi in Episode 4 groundbreaking? Obviously not. It wasn't, you know, it didn't have the flash, the panache of like the prequel lightsaber battles, but you could tell this was an important duel. You know, it had tension, and it was between two old friends that went into two completely different paths. And I was affected by Obi-Wan Kenobi's death. I wish he would have lived, but hey, it was what it was. We get a nice cameo of him in Empire Strikes Back. A great character. And like I said, Ewan McGregor's Obi-Wan Kenobi, perfectly fine. I liked Obi-Wan Kenobi in the prequels. One of my favorite parts of the prequels. I wish they would have done the prequels better, but that being said, Obi-Wan Kenobi, my third favorite character. Now, number 2 and number 1 are generally, you know, usually number 1 or number 2 for most people, but my number 2 is Han Solo. I love Han Solo, the scruffy-looking nerf herder. A scoundrel, Corellian, a debonair, you could say. He shot first. Launched Harrison Ford's career. We got plenty of great Harrison Ford roles after Han Solo, but Han Solo is where it began. And I don't know who doesn't love Han Solo. I mean, he was smooth, a smooth talker, a good man. He ended up showing that, you know, he wasn't just all about money. He was just a great dude. I mean, I don't know, if you took a poll of 100 people, how many people are 100 Star Wars fans, how many people are going to say they hated Han Solo? I bet that number is pretty few and far between. I love Han Solo. He was a beast. Will always be a beast. He did shoot first, but Greedo had it coming. That being said, I got some honorable mentions that didn't quite make the list, but we're right there. Mace Windu. I enjoyed Mace Windu. I like Samuel L. Jackson. I thought it was kind of weird that he was going to play a Jedi, considering, you know, how he shouts all the time. But that being said, I liked Mace Windu. He was he's one of the greatest physical fighters as a Jedi of all time. And he went out. I wish he didn't go out the way he did, but you know, it is what it is. He almost made the list, not quite. Admiral Ackbar uttered the most famous lines, in my opinion, from the Star Wars trilogy, and that's a trap. Everyone loves that line. He might make you hungry because he looks like a giant squid, but hey, who doesn't love some Admiral Ackbar? And the guy that just almost, it was between him and Lando. It was really close. Emperor Palpatine. I struggled with that one, so I'll give Emperor Palpatine his due. He's more of a 10B. He was an 11. Just a great villain. I mean, crazy, sadistic, evil, maniacal, Darth Sidious, Admiral Palpatine. Just a great character. I always find his death kind of funny, but hey, you know, it is what it is. But yeah, I digress. So now I get to number one. My number one, without a doubt, is Darth Vader. Not even the prequels could taint Darth Vader to me. It got pretty close. I almost flipped them between Han Solo and Darth Vader because, you know, I hate that they added that at the end of Episode 3. But hey, Darth Vader, just a great character. James Earl Jones voiced him so well. I mean, I just couldn't, and I'm glad they did, because if you ever heard, you can go and hear the tapes where the actor who played Darth Vader, I forget his name, I apologize, but the guy that's actually his physical, body, his voice just wouldn't have brought the same gravitas to the role. I mean, he sounds just like a normal, almost like a high-pitched kind of voice, but James Earl Jones just had that gravitas of that voice that just came through Darth Vader. And Darth Vader, just a great character. I mean, you see his arc, his downfall, his, the evil he commits, the atrocities he commits, to redemption. And I think the story was just as much about Darth Vader as it was Luke Skywalker. I always love his, I love Return of the Jedi. I know some people don't, but I love Return of the Jedi. I like Empire better, but Return of the Jedi is close, along with Episode 4. But just, when he lifts, you get the cut between him and Luke, where, Luke is, and they're just sharing that moment when Emperor Palpatine is frying Luke with Force lightning, and you can see Vader's sitting there, this isn't right. You can't see Vader's face, but you can see it. You can almost see it in his face that he realizes that it's time for this to stop, and he picks up Palpatine and chucks his ass down the the long the long tube or whatever that thing was, but he chucked his ass down there, and that was that. And the Force lightning killed him, but he was able to make amends in the end. So yeah, guys, that was my top 10 favorite characters in Star Wars. I realized that it was mostly original trilogy characters, but hey, original trilogy was a lot better than the prequels. Bottom line. That being said, remember, this list was subjective. But if you have, if you have any qualms of anything that I said, leave it in the comments. I will comment back. I love your guys' comments. I want to thank my new subscribers. I should thank Tony Teflon for having me on his channel, but I appreciate all the new subscribers that I got. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, share it if you like, and subscribe. That being said, remember that, as I said earlier, that on Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern, me, Tinker Jaso, and Jerry the Targaryen Steamboat will be live, talking the Star Wars trailer that just dropped, and other things, fears, dreams about how he feels going to happen in the movie. So yeah, guys, that's it for today. Talk to you guys next time.